I'm Connie Henriquez Kimmel. I'm the creator and founder of Start Loving Life, the philosophy that teaches you how to be happier, more confident, and in love with your life. This is my new cable show, which is going to be on every Saturday at 9 p.m. I'm going to be giving you life tips, love tips, just simple tips that everyone needs to learn to help them start loving life. For more inspiration during the week, feel free to visit my website at startlovinglife.com, join my mailing list, or you can follow me on YouTube at Start Loving Life and watch all of my latest videos. Hey guys, it's Connie Henriquez Kimmel with Start Loving Life, and I'm so happy to be hanging out with you this New Year's Eve. So guys, it's the last day of 2022, and I don't know about you, but I'm super psyched for 2023. So it's been a great week. You know, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys are working or you're off. I had a very light week with clients this week, and so I did a lot. We had Christmas Eve. We opened up our presents. I had my parents come over. I had Nat and Frank, my sister and brother-in-law, come over. And then I had Nat, who was cooking up some really good seafood. So we had Natalie made crabs, which were amazing. And I will tell you this, we got them from Lidl. You ever go to the store Lidl? Yeah, okay. So they have these like frozen crabs in a box, and they were actually really good. And so we had that, which Nat made, and then she made like homemade crab cakes, and then we got some seafood from the restaurant, and we had just a really great time. Lots of fun presents. Look at that. And look at, I got this cool new pink jacket. Isn't that cool? I love it. Nat got me that. And Jeff, my honey's got me lots of cute pink stuff and lots of pink cat mom stuff and just fun stuff like that. Like this. Or like that, like cute stuff, right? So this week, we actually, my friend Chrissy and I, we were actually invited to be a guest on a friend of ours television show that airs locally on, I believe it's StrongIslandTV.com. Benny Rizzuti, I want to do a big shout out to Benny. He has this show. It's called The XOXO Show. It's just kind of like a fun, free-flowing, like hangout type of show. So my friend Chrissy and I, we're on that, and we were on that Tuesday night. So I want to give a big shout out to him and his co-host Jen, which actually Jen is the inspiration for today's question, which will be the second part of today's show, which will be like my Q&A. And I'm super excited about that. It's going to be exactly, her question was, you know, I've been in a relationship for 5 years. I have a child. How do I revive that relationship? And this question comes up a lot. So after Jen asked the question on the show, which I didn't have time to really answer, I wanted to make this show about that because the question really does come up a lot, especially when you think about relationships. We all want to revive our relationship in some way. And so I'm going to give you the short answer, but actually the show is about giving you the long answer, and it's actually the true answer. And I don't want to give a spoiler, but I will. It's about understanding the first relationship you need to tend to is the one with you. And so that's what this show is about. And so when you do that, you're going to realize how you're going to actually help improve your relationship by improving the relationship with yourself. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wish you a happy New Year. Thank you so much for hanging out. I love being in your living room or wherever the hell you're watching me on New Year's Eve. I'm excited. Jeff and I right now are probably having cocktails, and we're probably like hanging out, laying low. We're going to do dinner with Chrissy and her boyfriend, my friend Chrissy and her boyfriend. So that'll be really cool. But for this New Year's Eve, we're laying low. So if you're watching this, sounds like you're laying low too. But again, I want to thank you for watching my show. I love you so very much. And if you have any other questions or anything in the future, things that you want me to answer or help you with, feel free to go to startlovinglife.com for more information and submit your question. And I would love to do a show if you have something really good that I could help you with. So guys, enjoy part 2, my Q&A section, and Happy New Year's. Hey guys, it's Connie with Start Loving Life, and I'm excited about today's episode. So this past week, I was a guest on my friend Benny's television show. It's called The XOXO Show. And so for those of you that don't know, prior to doing my Start Loving Life show, which you're watching now, I used to do a show called Date Night with Connie and Chrissy. And I would do it with my best friend, Chrissy Bogue. And it was a weekly talk show that we would have like different guests and celebrities, and we would stream it live on Facebook. and we would be on this channel 20. And so what was so fun about our show is we got to meet really cool people. So Benny, and that's kind of how we met Benny, because he was a guest on our show at some point, and then we were a guest on his show. And so Benny, after a couple of years, has just restarted his show again. So he invited Chrissy and I to be a guest. And what's so great about Benny's new show, which is now aired on StrongIslandTV.com, is that he is a new co-host, and her name is Jen, and she's a comedian, and she's super cool. So this past week while we were on the show, Jen posed a really great question, and the problem was that, you know, and I'm sure you can imagine, when you're doing a television show or if you're talking to someone and you don't have a lot of time, it's really hard to sometimes answer a question. So I wanted to make this show about really answering Jen's question in detail, which may have to do with her or may just be a question that she just asked randomly, but I wanted to answer it because it's a question that kind of comes up a lot, and it's about relationships. So Jen's question was, you know, Con, I've been married 5 years, I have a child, what can I do to revive the relationship? And so the reason why this is a really good question is because when you think about it, in life goes by really fast. I mean, again, it's, you know, Christmas just passed. Christmas was last week. You know, I feel like summer was just here, and now we're going into January, and before you know it, it's going to be spring, then it's going to be summer. And so life goes by really fast. And so my answer to Jen was a great answer, and it's an answer I would give anyone that, you know, I was meeting at a party and they had the same question, and it is the answer, but it's really not the solution. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So when Jen had asked that question, I had said, well, because life goes so fast, it's so important to plan our lives, and especially with your relationship, and especially like a marriage, and whether you're married or not. But, you know, time goes by so fast that really you end up just going through the motions of the day and the rat race of life. And so you never take a step back and really schedule and plan out your life. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, like everyone always says, like schedule a date night, you know, make plans for dinner, you know, and I always recommend, like, you can go online and find certain events that are cool, like wine nights or, you know, like plays or whatever you're into, and really plan out fun things to do in your relationship. So that was an answer I gave, and it is the correct answer, but it's not the solution. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, for example, I'm going to give you an analogy. So let's say someone comes to me and they say, hey, Con, like, I have anxiety. You know, I went to other professionals and they gave me some good coping mechanisms or coping, you know, things or how to manage it, right? So they say, you know, it's about breathing, you know, counting backwards or something, or biting ice. And even though those are good answers, it's really not the long-term solution. And the reason why I say that is because I want you to learn why you're creating that anxiety and why you're having anxiety. I don't want you to get to the point where it's too late, where you have it and then you're trying to respond to it, because at that point it's kind of too late. Now you're trying to, like, you're in crisis mode and you're trying to fix it. But yet what I do, and part of my Start Loving Life philosophy and how I teach life and the principles on life that I've applied to my own life that have really worked, is that I want you to feel so good about yourself that you don't get to the point of needing those answers. And that's really what the solution is. And the same thing with this question that Jen posed is that it's easy. And as I say, schedule your life, you know, plan fun things to do. But the bigger question, and this is where the solution lies, is the question is, why have you not been motivated to do it? Because listen, we all know you got to plan stuff out. You have to schedule it. And yes, it could be a nice little reminder to do it, but I want you to think about, on a larger scale, what's going on in your relationship and your life that your relationship hasn't been that important. And it's not a bad thing. It's a really good thing. And it's a really good thing because I want you to know it's more common than you know. And that's why this show is really about explaining to you how you're going to be more excited about wanting to take the initiative and be inspired to plan things about your relationship, because there's a reason why you aren't. So just to take a couple of steps back, just like I said, I want to teach you how to not have anxiety, not how to deal with it. I want to teach you how to have a better relationship. So that way you want to be motivated, inspired to plan things. And so the first thing I always say, and if you've worked with me or you have followed any of what I teach, there's one common principle which I talk like ad nauseum. Like I just completely always talk about this, and it's really about that life is about you. So even though we're in a relationship and this conversation is about having your relationship and improving your relationship, The most important relationship in life you will ever have is the one with yourself. And the reason why this is important is because this question actually comes down to that answer. And so I'll give you a little background so you have an understanding of what I'm saying, and it's going to help you kind of relate to what the solution is as far as reviving your relationship. So I drew a nice little graph. It's not really anything technical, but I want you to understand. Now, I will also tell you, I'm using one hand, you see one hand, because I'm limited, because I have this one. Hold on, guys. I want you to see. I have this one right here. And he loves to lay on my lap. And so he loves to lean on my arm. So I'm one arm here. So guys, I'm going to show you this diagram. Okay. Now I want you to look at top. Hold on, pumps. See right here? Okay. So that's you. And the reason why this is important is because I want you to think back, and I want you to know, and we'll use Jen as an example just because, and whether we're talking about Jen or not, or someone named Jen. So when Jen was born Jen. Okay, she wasn't born a wife. She wasn't born a mother. She was born Jen. Okay, so, right, makes sense. But what happens is, and this happens to mostly everyone, early on in life, we are shaped by our environment and the conditions around us. So I'll give you an example. So you were born you, right? And so just so you know, every person that's born is born happy, confident, and full of love for themselves and life. That's just the way it is. So what happens is you go through life and you enter a society and an education system that at age 5 dictates how smart you are and your potential by how smart you think you are by a grade system. Now, a grade system that was made up by somebody. Now, I just actually wrote my new book, and it's going to be out this spring, and I talk about that in more detail because I want you to understand, and what I love about today's question is I want you to understand, and just as a sidebar, I'm all over the place here, but when you come work with me or I teach about my star living philosophy, it's never about the past. But when I do reference to the past, I reference it for the fact that I want you to understand how you've gotten to the mindset that you currently have and how you don't even realize you're holding yourself back. And it's not even your fault. You've been trained to hold yourself back. And so that's kind of what I'm explaining now. So when you think about grades and how much credibility we give to these grades and teachers and the school system, and how at age 5, just think if you were a creative kid and you weren't great at math or science, and how at age 5, instead of fostering your creativity and empowering you to feel smart based on your creativity, you were instead made to feel bad or less than because you didn't fit the mold of something someone made up. So I want you to understand how small-minded at age 5 most people become because they enter into a system that is not meant to foster or empower everyone's unique ability to be themselves. And so at age 5, and I'm being dramatic when I said at age 5, but typically whatever time or whatever age you get into the school system, you start to doubt yourself. And you may say, hey, Con, but I had really great grades and, I was really good at school and that's great too. But then on the flip side, you learn to define yourself by those grades, having to keep up those grades in order to feel good about yourself and in order to feel smart. And so that's one thing. And then you started to compare yourself to other kids, their personality, their parents, your parents. And then you started to look to these well-meaning teachers who, they're human too, but you look to them as to whether you're a good student or not. So what happens over the course of your early life? You start to doubt yourself. You start to lose confidence in yourself. You start to value yourself by how well you fit in or how many friends you have. Now, if you work with me, you know that's the opposite of what I do. I don't care how many friends you have. I don't care if you have 0 friends, because the only friend that you need in life is you, because you're the only one guaranteed to be with you forever. And so that's a whole other side. That's a whole other video. But so I want you to think that when you're younger and as you go through your school years, you never learned to develop you, whatever that looks like. You never learned I keep saying you never learn. Like, what is that? But you're never empowered to be you and feel good about you in the strongest way possible. Instead, it's the, I don't fit in. I have to keep up. I'm stressed out with these grades. I have to make sure my parents are happy. That I have all these friends. And so what happens is you go through your earlier life never discovering you. And that's the reality, right? And so what happens is your mindset isn't as strong and as powerful as it could be because you're down on yourself. And then what happens is because you're not loving yourself, because over the course of time, why would you love yourself? You get crappy grades, your parents are upset with you, maybe your teachers don't love you, you're constantly trying to fit in, you're constantly looking in the mirror criticizing what you see, you're comparing yourself to the size 2 model, it's like you're doing a number on yourself and you don't even know. So what happens is you go through life never really loving yourself or learning how to love yourself. And then what happens is, what do you want? You want to look for love and you want to look for a partner and you want for someone to complete you, which I teach you never want anyone to complete you because you complete yourself. And so because you have that mindset of looking for love, because everybody wants to look for love, but it's usually for the wrong reasons. It's because, I want to be loved by somebody, where the person that has to love you most is you. And so because we have that false sense of self and a mindset that isn't as powerfully confident and as strong as it should be, as it could be, then when we attract a relationship, that's the second, here, hold on, pumps. That's that. Then when we attract a relationship, we do it with the mindset of not feeling good enough. And then who do you think we attract? Do we attract happy, confident, oh my God, I love myself? Or do we attract the same, I don't always feel good about myself? And so I'm going to attract a partner similar. So, and guys, I'm being dramatic when I say this. And the reason why is I just want you to have an understanding of kind of how life works. It's not a bad thing. And I will tell you, all of us go through this, all of us. And if you think about your first relationship, I'm sure it makes sense. Usually your first relationship is not always ideal long term because, you don't even know who you are and you're attracting someone who doesn't know who they are either. So then you have your relationship and then you get caught up into this relationship. And then what happens? You start to lose yourself even more because now you never learned how to love yourself. Then you're relying on this other person to love you, which they really can't unless they're loving themselves. And plus, they have their own life. They have their own life to tend to. You can't rely on them to nurture you when you got to do it yourself. But then we train ourselves that we need that we need their appreciation. We need their validation. We need their love. And technically, we don't. And we shouldn't. Because when you feel good on your own and you love yourself on your own and you appreciate yourself on your own, which is what I teach, then your relationship is so much easier. It's so much better because you're not relying on that person and you're not dependent on that person. Because the last thing I ever want you to do is to be dependent on anyone else but yourself. So then you have that relationship, right? And then you have the stresses of that relationship. And like I said, stresses happen because then you start to blame your partner. I don't feel good in this relationship. We don't do anything. You don't bring me flowers anymore. And it's because we're not nurturing ourselves. We're not feeling good about ourselves. So we're expecting our partner to fill that void. And they can't. Only we could fill that void. And when I say it's a void, it's not a void. But I want you to understand the only person you can control in life is yourself. So I never want you to rely your happiness and your feeling good about yourself based on someone else's actions. We don't want to do that. And that's something I want you to start being mindful of. So then you have your relationship right here. You lose a little bit more of yourself. Then you look to your other person for happiness, which never works out. Then you are unhappy in your relationship, or it's not as great as it should be because you're no longer appreciating your partner because they're not doing right by you, where really it's about you doing right by you. And then you throw some kids in the mix. And I put 4 kids just because I thought it'd be funnier, but any kid, 1 kid, 2 kids. Then what happens is you're not nurturing you. Then you meet someone, then you're really not nurturing you because you're looking for that other person to nurture you and love you. And so we all know that doesn't work long term. And then you throw some kids in the mix, and then you really don't nurture you because you give all your nurturing to them. And so you don't take care of yourself up here. And so you're not loving yourself. You're giving all your resources to your kids to provide a better life for them, which makes sense, but it's really not ideal, because what happens is you lost the only person that ever matters in your life, and that's you. Because when you find a happy you, and you develop you into be a happy you, a confident, loving life you, then you're going to improve your relationship, because you're not going to rely on your partner for love. You're going to love yourself first. You're going to go out there. And when you love yourself too, you want to get out into life. You want to explore life in a bigger way. You want to have a purpose. You want to, go after crazy things, and you'll have the confidence to do that. But that's about finding you and discovering you and working on you first. And then in your relationship benefits, because a happy you in a relationship is a very different person than I need your love. I need you to look at me. I need you to nurture me. I need you to appreciate me. That's no bueno. And that's not even who you are. You want to be so self-sufficient, so confident, so independent that your relationship is just a byproduct of how you feel about you, and not needing anything from your partner, because you could supply it all on your own. And so when you get to that point and you feel good and you nurture yourself, then your relationship doesn't have the stresses and the strings attached of, well, you must do for me and I must do for you. You need to do for yourself first, because then when you're happy, you're a different person in that relationship. When you're happy and you're a different person in that relationship, which that is your number one relationship, is with yourself. The second relationship is your relationship with your partner. And your third relationship, I know people will not agree with this, but it's the one with your kids. Because in your relationship, hold on, I'm going to take a step back. Your relationship with you and how you feel about yourself and how you tend to yourself and your happiness is the best example of life you can give to your children. Number 2, your relationship with your partner, okay, when you nurture yourself first, and then your relationship with your partner is the most important second example you give to your kids, because you show your kids, Daddy and I love each other because we love ourselves first, and we tend to ourselves first, and we make sure that we're happy first, and we don't hold anyone or each other responsible for our happiness, because it's an inside job. You show your kids that by your relationship with yourself, and then secondly, by your relationship with your husband. It changes the dynamic of everything. It changes the dynamic of your mindset. It changes the dynamic of the environment and the energy in your house. It changes everything. And then it's the relationship with your kids. But if you notice, by you feeling good here first, by you feeling good here, by nurturing yourself, then nurturing your relationship, you're going to be a better mom, because you're not going to be responding to negative behavior if there is. So for example, a mom that's very happy and centered can be the leader of the house and lead her kids in the most positive way, not responding, but hey, this is my house. This is how things go. This is what I want for you. This is what I want for the house. This is what needs to happen. This is your responsibility and what you need to do. You come from a place of being centered, not a place of being exhausted, being depleted, and being stressed, because you're not tending to the person who matters. And so when you're depleted, exhausted, and stressed, what kind of mom are you? You're not the most amazing mom that you could be, because you're letting your kids then dictate to you how you should feel by their behaviors, by their attitudes. And so that's why you have to be the leader of the house. And you do that by being the leader of your house up here. So going back to the question, which seems so off topic, but it's really not. It's about reviving your relationship with you. However that looks like. Maybe you're not going after life in the big way that you want. Maybe you're holding yourself back. Maybe you're not tending to yourself. Maybe you're not doing the things that you want to do. And the one thing you're not doing is you're not loving yourself and appreciating yourself in the way that you should. And that's something you need to start doing, because I want you to validate yourself, because you love yourself and you feel good about yourself, regardless of what your partner thinks, regardless of what your kids think. And when you do that, you will change the dynamics of everything. And then when you feel so good and you feel so good about you, then I want you to start planning a fun schedule with your partner. And then I want you to sit down with your partner and with the calendar and start organizing like what you're going to do and what fun things you're going to do. And that's really the long answer. And then you're going to be a better mom because A, you and your partner have a life, you have a life, and now you're going to show your kids the best life to have. And that's one when you tend to yourself first, the first relationship that matters, about loving yourself, feeling good about yourself. And then you're going to be the best mom to direct and lead what happens in the house and really being the example for your kids.